Pokemon Sword and Shield are the best games for Pokemon. Now, to be clear, what do I mean the best games for Pokemon? Not the best Pokemon games. I'm talking about what the games bring to the Pokemon series as a whole. And I want to be clear what my stand is. I'm judging the games on because it's not going to be clear. No one's going to agree exactly what I'm going to say exactly. But before I get into it, I want to recognize and step back, recognize what GameFreak's goal and vision for Pokemon is, especially in the more recent iterations of Pokemon. Pokemon Sword and Shield is designed to improve on competition. And if you all remember, the number one complaint about the Sword and Shield is the whole bring back the natural decks, and the graphics of a tree and limited decks or whatever. I'll be clear and address the limited decks right now. As somebody who actually played throughout Gen 6 and 7, and compare it to Sword and Shield meta, the limited decks was actually a refreshing thing. It actually kept some of those Pokemon that had been in the forefront of Gen 6 and 7 from being as prevalent as they could have been. And also certain moves were removed from a lot of Pokemon, which also helped for a lot of Pokemon because, frankly, a lot of moves on certain Pokemon were very, very sparingly. I need to remind how many Pokemon had knockoff. Every time there was a tutor, bajillion Pokemon had knockoff, Landorus knockoff, and U-turn, Scarf. It was a constant thing. And and also, in Sword and Shield, we will see often that Pokemon which previously saw pretty much no usage, or very little usage, and maybe using just some of their friends, are now possibly some meta Pokemon for a period of time. And, for example, we had a lot of time where we had Pokemon such as Mimikyu be prevalent in Sword and Shield, but there were times where it wasn't nearly as prevalent in both singles and doubles. And also, I'll be referring to the double, and I'll be talking more with the doubles meta, as this is more what I'll be using for argument's sake, since this is what the BBC is based on. I will be using more info about the doubles. And also, I played much more of the doubles series as of, especially in the Sword and Shield era. And some specific things that I noticed about the doubles meta is that, especially doubles meta, we saw a big shift in what could be popular and what isn't popular. We had times when sand was prevalent, and times when sun was prevalent, times when rain was prevalent. And yes, those have been prevalent in the past, but they've also been completely off the grid at times, like all weathers. There have been times when they practically didn't exist. So, when people complain about Pokemon Sword and Shield and the meta, it's usually not a fair assessment. People more complaining about what they don't like the things, or their inability to adapt to certain ideas. For example, Smogon has banned Dynamax from their formats because they could not find out ways to deal with Dynamax in a singles format, even though they have a 6v6 format, a format which Dynamax is less impactful than a 3v3 format or any doubles format for that matter. And frankly is pretty ridiculous how so many people will approach it. Now, I will go back to about the meta shift, and about how the meta shifts in Pokemon Sword and Shield are a healthy game when it comes to competitive. And for example, Pokemon Sword and Shield had varying degrees of different metas, which ranged from prior to the DLC to post the DLC. But also, in between some of the DLC, we had in Pokemon Home release, which I will now show. So, give me 1 second. I'm very professional, obviously. But here is the start of Pokemon Sword and Shield meta. This is the doubles format. We see Whimsicott and Dragapult and Excadrill and Arcanine at the top, as well as Gastron. A lot of the new generation stuff. Some fair amount of new generation stuff, which is fair. Some of these are very strong. And we saw varying strategies from Whimsicott going just Tailwind to just outspeed everything, to even some Trick Room. And old reliable Mimikyu obviously there for that Trick Room. Indeedee, a newcomer, and a lot of other variations. So, in the beginning of the Sword and Shield meta, we see some of that. Then we go past a few months later to when the Alola starters came out. We saw a big shift. We see that no longer are some of these Pokemon nearly as prevalent. We see Trick Room become much more of a thing. Dusclops is now a thing. And we see some of the other strategies kind of fall back. We see Whimsicott lowering usage. We see Conkeldurr rise to power, which it was frankly not very powerful before. And we see this varying shift just in home in and we just seen varying differences, and as a result we see different Pokemon rise to power. And even if we go forward a few months, it still changes a little bit. Cinderace now comes to forefront, even though hardly much of anything changes. In fact, I believe the only change was the the Galar starters getting their abilities, which doesn't change all that much, yet it impacted the meta. It changed all these Pokemon. And if we go forward even further, when the Isle of Armor came out, which I believe is here. Indeed, the Isle of Armor found more different Pokemon. As time went on, we see new Pokemon come to rise. We see Rillaboom come to rise. We see a lot of these other Pokemon. We see Urshifu come to rise, which is a new contender. Which, as you'll notice, as we go through these, it starts in the somewhat lower ranking before people realize its power. If we go forward even further, we see Urshifu, and this is actually post Crown Tundra. Go back a little bit. We see Urshifu, premier contender, and we see Regieleki as well in the post. But right here, right before the Crown Tundra came out, Talonflame, Primarina, Urshifu. Now this is also partly, we do see that some of this is due to a change in the rule set of Pokemon. And if we go the rule set allowed, so they'll also have different rule sets. Certain Pokemon will be banned, or certain things will be allowed or not allowed. And if we come even further forward to, I believe it is here. Indeed, it is here. Okay. Some Pokemon which, frankly, never saw any play throughout, ever since they released Isle of Armor. Mienshao and Volcarona. Both these Pokemon never saw any play up until this point. Why? We now have because this is not a dining restaurant. And we see a droppage in block moves, and we see a wide guard as a result of these spread moves becoming prevalent. Now Mian Xiao is a unique Pokemon with inner focus and having a wide guard, meaning it is the safest wide guard option turn 1. And we have Volcarona, which hardly saw any play, and we'll see increasing play as we go for the month, I believe. Yep, there's Volcarona. There is Volcarona. We saw it. And we see Volcarona rising usage as a result of these changes. Like, we see these Pokemon change. We see a lot of these Pokemon change in where they are and how usable they are. This is indicative of a healthy meta. And now I will address the issue regarding the graphics. I addressed the issue regarding how we had a limited X, and now we no longer have that limited X. Well, not near as limited. And as a result, we had a change in our metas as we got more Pokemon, as new rule sets became a thing. This is a very changing game. This is not a stagnant game like it was in Gen 6 and 7. This is changing. And I will now address the graphics issue. So the graphics issue, well, there's multiple reasons why the graphics issue is pretty negligent. One, people will argue about graphics in the most absurd ways. They'll look at the worst possible tree available or worst possible looking thing that obviously was not spent a lot of time on, and therefore is very poor example of the overall graphics. Like, for example, we're just going to go into this raid real quick, and we'll quickly analyze impromptu of the graphics of this. Okay, so if we look right here, we have a very simple, we have a sprite showing Eevee. I'm grinding shiny Eevee at the moment, and look, these are sprites on the right hand side of the Pokemon we are using, and the host is using Azation, I'm using a Galarian Zapdos. Well, obviously these aren't the worst, these are just supposed to be mini sprites. And okay, so when we get our other people in, we'll look at the overall animation. We see a very clean just screen right here. There's not too much, but we have the info, we have the time remaining, we have all the info we really need. We know it's an Eevee, it's a 5-star. Okay. Now let's look at this. This is one main mechanics of Sword and Shield are these raids. Look, flowing hair. It's not the best, obviously, but it's not the best. But look, you very clearly see it's working. These aren't horrible graphics. That is the first thing. But they also, but they aren't the best graphics. That's fine. I'll explain why they are not. Why you don't need graphics, and why we're talking about Pokemon. Okay, so why am I saying this? Pokemon Sword and Shield is not important for graphics. Why? Because there's a budget with these games. You have to understand. There's a budget. They can't spend $1 billion and infinite amount of time. They can't spend an infinite amount of money and an infinite amount of time, or else we never have. There is a budget in the game, and we have to compare Pokemon Sword and Shield to other games, correct? Because, okay, so if you look at Sword and Shield in a competitive aspect, how many of these competitive games have the same sort of base requirements? Pokemon Sword and Shield is not a real-time game. It is a turn-based game. Okay, well, how many competitive turn-based games are there out there? The answer is not very many. Not at least outside of TCGs. And we're not talking about TCGs. We're talking about a pure video game which can't be played with paper cards or anything. I'm just talking about this game as it is. Okay? As Pokemon is, there is basically no other main game out there which has a big competitive scene, but turn-based. That's important. Because when we're talking about non-turn-based games, which are more about time, we're concerned about how long animations are, how things look, how we can respond in any given setting. We're concerned about that in real-time games. We are not nearly as concerned about that in turn-based games such as Pokemon. And we should be looking at the resources spent. Where should these be going if we're talking about turn-based games? Should it be going towards the graphics, or should it be going towards the gameplay and how the actual meta breaks down? And, okay, let's consider the Switch is fairly powerful, but it's not the most powerful thing. And I caught the green one, but this is overall the reason why I don't consider overall graphics on why Pokemon Sword and Shield are the best games for Pokemon. And I will now address the other things regarding Pokemon Sword and Shield. Okay, first I will hold on. We have cut that Eevee, and now I will just hatch some eggs. Okay. So regarding the other standards which I judge Pokemon by, is regarding how good the meta is, which I've already talked about already. That again, the meta of Pokemon Sword and Shield is a varying meta, right? We see lots of changes in the Pokemon which are around, and according to different rules, certain Pokemon rise and fall, which is a healthy meta which flows. It's not the same Pokemon, exact same Pokemon, coming to the forefront every single time. There is natural flow. There is natural balance. Like, certain Pokemon, which aren't necessarily meta, could very much defeat whatever is meta at a given time. You never know. Pokemon is a varying game which allows such things. Thus, thus, Pokemon Sword and Shield have a good meta. Next, quality of life and features and plausibility factor. These are some other things which I will judge the Pokemon Sword and Shield on compared to other Pokemon games. Since the best thing that, since I'm comparing Pokemon Sword and Shield to other Pokemon games, and why is the best games for Pokemon. And I will first focus on the plausibility factor. Now, when it comes to plausibility factor, this may not be the most clear as to what I mean by plausibility factor. What is the plausibility factor is simply because of what happened in a given game, what is likely to happen to be added to future games or other applications the player or developer could take with the game because of a certain thing happening. I say one of the best examples of recent, but outside of Sword and Shield, is in Gen 6 when they have Mega Evolution. Mega Evolution is a high plausibility factor thing because we have Pokemon which previously may not have a lot of usage and have been overshadowed by recent Pokemon, are now brought back to the limelight as potential Pokemon with a new fresh look on Mega Evolution. They were very powerful, and they were very, very overtuned in some cases. That much is clear. And then next for plausibility factor is an example Gen 7, where we have more than just Megas. We have Z-moves, which is something every Pokemon can use, not just a subset. And we give old Pokemon new forms via regional forms, which add new typing and new abilities, new attacks, and new things that Pokemon can do that they never could have done before. Thus, if we're going to compare Sword and Shield to Gen 6 and 7, we have a very high standard of what the plausibility factor is. Pokemon's Sword and Shield's plausibility factor first starts with the premier feature of this generation, which is Dynamax. Again, it's another battle feature. While some people obviously view as unfair or too good, is a feature which both people can take advantage of on any Pokemon, regardless of item or anything. It is a possibility on every Pokemon in every battle. It is something which is a moment, a decision in the moment. It's something that you do in the moment, which, although preparing is important, is just as important if you have these decisions mid-battle. Thus, the question, is Dynamax fair, really comes down to player skill and knowledge and team building, which is more something that we encourage with Pokemon. We're trying to encourage skill and team building. So Dynamax is only as powerful as really the player who uses Dynamax. And really, it gives more Pokemon moves as well, more usage. Moves like Fly and Dig may not have had pretty much any usage previously to Sword and Shield, yet they now do in Dynamax, because they have a powerful new effect, essentially, which is available only in Dynamax, yet is very usable now. And again, any Pokemon has access to this powerful thing for exactly 3 turns, and is not infinite mega on limited Pokemon, or every Pokemon having potential but not really of using one powerful move in the entire game, and you better make that use really, really good. So in terms of plausibility, we would consider this in our factors, as well as I forgot to mention, in Gen 7 we had the Bottle Cap, which added more ability for players to play, and in Gen 8 I will similarly point to Mints, which now give any Pokemon the ability to be usable, essentially. Any Pokemon can be minted in Bottle Caps now, and be used in competitive. The only exception is probably if you need 0 speed, which, if you're aware of all of that, 0 speed can very much be a thing, or 0 attack can be a thing. And the only thing Bottle Caps can't fix are those, which are very, very limited, which is very, not the most amount of scenarios. Most Pokemon don't need this. The vast majority of Pokemon are happy being the 6 IV. To be fair, most Pokemon are fine being 6 IV, and it won't matter all that much, although some Pokemon may care about foul play. Most of the time it does not matter as much. And is something which also Sword and Shield adds something called the Battle Ready stamp, which is something which allows Pokemon from previous games to be usable in the current game. So those previous shinies that you got in, say, Gen 4 or Gen 5 that you have fond memories of can now be used in ranked battles in Sword and Shield. Something which could never be done ever since Gen 6. You could not use those Transformons in those ranked battles from Gen 6 onwards until now. Although they lose any sort of event or previous gen only moves, it is a worthy loss for a lot of these Pokemon, for a lot of people, to use these Pokemon because they want to. It is more power to the player and more plausibility overall to Pokemon. And now, and there's also ability to bring back any old strategies which you may have had in the past as well. Now, I will round up some of my thoughts on the meta of Pokemon Sword and Shield, as I already gave a pretty good explanation of the changes and all of that. But other than what I stated, Pokemon does have a reasonable rate which the meta changes, but does not stagnate, which keeps these games fairly fresh no matter when I come in. And as somebody who plays enough, but not 24 hours a day, which anybody could get sick of any game they played to that degree. There is a lot to be said about the changes which Sword and Shield add. And one of them is obviously the changes which Pokemon Sword and Shield now have the ability, which now have something new, which is called the dynamic speed change. So now Pokemon moves like Tailwind and Thunder Wave, Electro Web, which before were their effects were applied next turn. Now they're applied immediately, which now makes things like Prankster Whimsicott's Tailwind much more powerful, and hence adds more complexity and strategy to Pokemon. This adds to the competitive viability of Pokemon games. And I will now get into the quality of life. And what do I mean by this? It's basically how easy is it to train a Pokemon from nothing to competitive fighting. And how is it easy to get resources which you need to get it, and to play and how UI friendly it is to play it. Pokemon Sword and Shield, very much top notch, best Pokemon game thus far, no question. And I'll show you very, very easily how easy it is to get a Pokemon. If you've been playing constantly, okay. At one point I had max stacks of all of these, I've spent them. But if you have just a bajillion money, bajillion BP, bajillion watts, it's easy. And it's not hard to grind any of these. Look at this lid. Okay. Oh, actually, let me get a Pokemon there if you want to try. I just have to set. Okay. And let's get oh, here we have a shiny Bounce Suite, level 60. Okay. Or this shiny this Bounce Suite. Okay. This shiny Bounce Suite. And I'm low on some of these resources myself, but it's as easy as I have a bunch of these candy. Boom, 40, done. And how I get these candy? You do raids, and raids are very, very grindable. Now I do a lot of raids and a lot of Pokemon, so I am very low at the moment. But also we can go over to the vitamins. I have a lot of some of these vitamins, but look, bam, max that stat. If I just click A, I will have a max stack of that. Oh, and max that stat out. So I can just go, bam, that easy. Before you could only do this to 100 EVs. Now you can do all 252. And we can go simply over to, you just simply go over here. If you have a lot of watts, then you can just spend all those watts straight into these guys. We have some eggs hatching. So be a moment, but essentially if you spend a lot of these resources, you can get a lot of things. It is not hard if you're actually just playing the game. Biggest games rewards you just for playing, essentially. And if you also look at the rewards, which if you go into ranked battles, and you get to Master Ball tier, which is not hard for pretty much any player who is competent enough to play Pokemon, which I'm assuming you are, it is not very hard to get to Master Ball tier. For which, every month for each Master Ball tier, in singles and doubles, you have 600 BP. That's 1,200 a month. Let me tell you, 1,200 a month is a lot of BP. You will not go through this BP fast enough. Trust me, unless you're making a bajillion Pokemon all day, every day, all along every day, you will not go through 1,200 BP to get items and everything. You will not go through that much. Trust me. It is way more than you will ever need. I've achieved max more times, and I've spent BP on items I don't need just so I don't go overboard. And as well as just grinding items on the ground as well is good as well. And especially if you get the Isle of Armor, which is very much worth it. The DLC is very much worth it. Over here, alright, we can just grind bottle caps. Let me see if I remember this correctly. It is... No, we want... I believe it is this. Oh no, it is, and I believe it is this. We'll get a bottle cap. There we go. Bottle cap. A useful item for topping off any Pokemon to make sure they are perfect. And as you can see, I could get a lot of those right now if I really wanted to. And for sure, we'll just do some more. And it's that easy to get some of these items. Some of these items are extremely easy just to find around. So this game rewards you just playing the game. This Cramomatic, there's so many different items you can get from it. Like, ridiculous. You get multiple Eviolites, which is not available in BP. You can get so many items. And there's move tutors over here as well, which you can trade for ore, which you get from raids, which you're also doing for candy. You also get TRs, which are basically just one-use TM move tutors, essentially. But you just grind them and they give them out like candy. And I actually use them, so I still have a bunch of all of them. And a lot of these things are very easy to use. And as well, we have a egg passing mechanic now, which, for example, let's say I didn't have Fake Out and Party Shot on this Litten. I could just put it in the daycare with another Litten, regardless if it's male or female. If I just have 2 open move slots, I will get Fake Out and Party Shot. This makes egg moves easy. This is the easiest egg moves I've ever been. If I just do 2 of the same species Pokemon, one with the egg moves, one without, as long as there's open move slots, pass them on. You don't have to worry about leveling up or losing egg moves. Not anymore. Not a thing. Not a thing in Sword and Shield. You just pass it. It's easy. And you can also relearn some of these moves too, which is amazing. And so Sword and Shield's quality of life, it's extremely easy. I could just make Pokemon right here, right now, if I really wanted to. And there's also many rare berries, which were fairly hard to get in the past, but now you can just go shake trees. Let's just go shake a tree. And I'll get some berries. Very easy to do. Let's just go, because I know there's one right in here. And each of these trees as well has some specific berries which come from it, which makes it easy. If you want a specific thing, go to a specific tree. And this one has Salic and Mago. Okay, we're mostly going to find Salic, Mago, and pink apricorns from this. There you go. And you could try as much as you want, but as soon as it shakes that much, I suggest you stop. But anyway, it's easy. It's just easy. A lot of these things are just easy grind. So in terms of quality of life, Sword and Shield has a very, very high bar, which I have to give it the highest of marks to, in terms of how good these games are for Pokemon. And when it comes to features and gameplay, which I'm also referring to for Pokemon, well, we do have some new ways to get Pokemon. If you're in a route, you could go to Pokemon Camp. Now, this doesn't work in Wild Area or anything, but you can go to Pokemon Camp and start making curry. And the curry, like, we just go and we cook. And we just throw in berries and could randomly get a Pokemon. It is random and it's not guaranteed, but you could get something. And it's a new method of shiny hunting, which I know some people are very, very into. And also, when we're talking about features, well, the raids. Come on, these are just stupid easy. You get free Pokemon pretty much for free. You can give them any ball if you're the host. They're pretty much guaranteed capture, and it's whatever. Like if you love these fancy balls, like I do, like I love these fancy balls, like the Level Ball and the Beast Ball and Safari Ball. You can get them. They can be very much grinded for. You just go over to Crymomatic. You guys go over to Crymomatic, and you put in 4 apricorns, and you have a chance to getting one of these. Like, let's see if we get a little lucky real quick. But these Dynamax and Dynamax Adventures as well, you can get legendary Pokemon from them, and you get Dynamite Ore, which is also a very useful resource. So let's go ahead and make 1 second. We'll throw in 4 blacks. We have a possibility of getting a heavy ball from this because this is drop table in the black apricot. And also you can just master it. Oh, and also there's a possibility of getting multiple. Indeed. And I have too many great balls. Okay, that's fine. And you could get random balls from this. But also, maybe, just maybe, get a heavy ball. It's very useful. And apricorns are very easy to get, so no worries. And going back to Dynamax Adventures, there's a way to manipulate it, which you can have your friends coordinate, and as a community thing, get these legendary Pokemon, which are very powerful. And also, if you coordinate with your friends, you could guarantee get some of these Pokemon available. You could, if your friend has one of the Pokemon you're looking for, and the proper version of the game, all you need to do is have that Pokemon in front of your party. You go do a random one, they go over here to talk to Peonia, and she'll say she has that specific Pokemon found down in the next raid. And all you have to do is spend 5, and you have that list, and then you can go and share it with your friends. It's a very if you were talking about Pokemon game, which is made for the community, this is the game. Dynamax Adventures, the raids, they're all for the player, and they're all for Pokemon. These are the best games for Pokemon. If we're talking about how easy it is to grind, how easy it is to get Pokemon up, all these things are amazing. And there's also, I completely forgot, if you have a Pokemon that's already level 100 but can still evolve, if you just use a rare candy on that Pokemon, it will evolve. Unlike previous games which made it unable to evolve. It was stuck as that Pokemon at level 100. Now, you accidentally make it level 100, whoops, it's not evolved, whoops, you can just use a rare candy. Or whatever condition it needs, use a rare candy, and it will work. So as of now, prior to Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, Pokemon Sword and Shield are the best games for Pokemon. Until next time, join the Bastion of Eon. Until next time, see ya.